All right, we're back. We're back at it again. Oh, when the inspiration strikes, you got to go with it, right? And man, let's talk. We're gonna cover forgiveness again. All right, and you've heard right. So there's different types of forgiveness, right? There's forgiveness for yourself, and then there's forgiveness for others, right? And I've talked about this before, and it's just been my experience that it's much harder to forgive yourself than it is somebody else, right? And I think that that's true for me. It's been that way mostly. And I think that that tends to be the thing. And I've really noticed that when it comes to forgiving yourself, it's not just me that has a problem with it. Lots of people have problems with it, and I would see it in church. Is the place that I would see it mostly as even growing up, and you would just see people who just didn't seem to like they couldn't enjoy their time there. They couldn't get up and sing with everyone else. You could just tell, that people were like feeling very condemned and just not happy. And why wouldn't you be happy in church? There's only one reason, it's because you're convicted and you've convicted yourself. And people have this idea, that some things, I guess, are unforgivable, you know. And I think people get really confused because they'll look at things like murder, they'll look at people like Hitler and stuff, and you think in yourself, you say, well, okay, these things are unforgivable. How do you even begin to recover from something like that? Like, how does a person become redeemed? And and then and then there are things that most people are not Hitler. Most people don't kill people. Most people don't rape other people, and they don't do things like that. And it's kind of confusing for us because we do and think things that we kind of assign the same significance to, like a murderer. In your mind, you feel like these things are on par with those things, and there is some level of guilt or some level of shame or some level of I don't know, dis-ease that is buried inside of us, like it has really taken root. And I kind of like the way I really visualize these energies that we just talked about: guilt, shame, sadness, resentment, right? These are like energies, okay? And when you're feeling these things, you kind of like block canceling energies that could cancel it. You're blocking them, and it affects you. So let's just like say you're just like in a piss poor mood, you're angry or whatever. You notice that when you're in that state of mind, some people who are sensitive to energies can detect that you're in a bad mood, and someone would ask you, hey, what's going on? And you're like, nothing. There's something that you're emitting, right? You're putting out this energy, and other people can sense it. And people will either approach you or they'll back off. Mostly they'll back off, and they just kind of keep their distance because they can feel this negative energy. And so it affects you in this way. It's like, as long as you're in this resonance, this frequency of anger, guilt, shame, whatever, you're broadcasting these energies, this resonance, and other people are affected by it, whether they even subconsciously know it or not, or consciously know it or not, and they keep their distance. And so life looks a certain way to you because people around you are affected by what's happening inside of you. And so if you are going to get rid of these frequencies, these feelings, right, you need to and we're going to use this word, forgive yourself, right? For these things. But how do you do that? How do you go inside, right? How do you cancel out those energies so that those energies can stop getting in the way of blessings that are trying to come to you? Now, this is the thing. A lot of people think that they're in trouble with God because of something they did or said or whatever, all right? And that they're not worthy of blessings, okay? And when you feel like you're not worthy of blessings, and when you feel like you've done or said something that's so bad that you don't deserve blessings, you're not going to get blessings, because the energy you're putting out is blocking those blessings, right? Because God, the universe, is trying to say to you, hey, I can help you cancel those energies. I can forgive those energies, but we have to talk. We gotta work with each other. So if I can cancel those negative energies out, then you open the you're open for positive energies to come in, the ones that are trying to get in, but they can't get past those negative ones, right? So how do you do that? Because when you're riddled with guilt, shame, anxiety, unworthiness, whatever those negative feelings are, and those things can like really grab a hold of you and last for years, even decades, and it just can ruin your life. And there's people that spend almost their whole life, if not their whole life, in those energies. And you can just drive around certain neighborhoods and look at the homes and look at the state of those homes, and you can see how these energies affect your life. All right. And the thing is that all of us at some point in our lives, right, we recognize that we play this part of victim and villain. And it's just a fact of life, that you're going to say and do things to yourself and other people that are not nice. And you're going to hurt people, and you're going to hurt yourself, and other people are going to hurt you and hurt themselves. And that's just the way things are. But we have this thing that we label forgiveness for other people, forgiveness for ourselves. And that act, that forgiveness, that energy is really what it's doing is trying to cancel out these energies. One, maybe resentment for somebody else who did something bad to you, or this guilty feeling that you did something bad to somebody else. And a lot of people feel like what they did is unforgivable. And I'm just going to assume we're not talking about murder, okay? And you're not Hitler, all right? Just try to... I don't bother going there because I'm not any of those things. And so I don't worry about those things. I just worry about what affects me and how this works with me. And so if you're watching this and you're somebody that's having a hard time with guilt, shame, anger, resentment, or any of these negative energies, and you want to get rid of them, I'm going to try to help you understand this in a way that might make some sense to you, because you can absolutely dissolve or get rid of these energies, and you, with the help of God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call that. But even without that, okay, you could still achieve it. I feel like it's easier for me I'm somebody that happens to believe that the God energy is real, and I feel it, and I see it active in my life, and so I know this energy, whatever it is, it's real. I call it God. Other people call it different things, like the universe, Mother Earth, Gaia, and just Source. I mean, there's different names, but we're all talking about the same thing. And this energy, God, right, is trying to take you and say, I want to help you get rid of these feelings, because as long as you have these feelings inside of you, you're blocking blessings from coming into your life. So we have to dissolve these feelings. But sometimes this guilt, this shame, this anger is so deep that you just can't get rid of it. It's affecting you in every way. And so how do you get rid of it? How do you do it? Let's just center on, let's have a scenario where you did something to somebody. All right. You're feeling guilty about something you did, something you said. Maybe it's a number of things. Okay. And you feel guilty about it. Now, why do you feel guilty about it? Did you apologize to the person that you feel like you wronged? Because if you did, seems, and they forgave you, then I don't see why you would be feeling guilty about it, right? Because that energy has been dissipated. The other person has said, hey, I understand you're a human being, and look, it's water under the bridge. All right. And so that dissolves that energy. And now you can breathe easy because you've been forgiven, right? That person helped you get rid of those feelings by them being forgiving. So you got your forgiveness, and now that energy is gone and you feel better, right? But there are times, right, where maybe we do something to somebody, right, and you don't get an opportunity to talk to them for, let's say that person dies, or whatever, they're not available to you for whatever reason, and you're left with this heaviness. So what you've got to do, and I want you to just think about this term, it's called shadow work, and you can look it up to understand it. I'm not going to go into it here in detail, except to say that what you've got to do now, since you don't have somebody to forgive you, you've got to learn how to forgive yourself, right? So you can cancel out that energy. And the energy that's going to cancel it out is understanding. It's the understanding of why you did or said whatever it is that's bothering you, okay? Why you did that to that person. I hope this makes sense. You've got to understand some concepts. One is this therapeutic measure that we're going to call shadow work. Now, you can do shadow work on your own. There's apps that help you with this. ChatGPT will help you with it. Or you could see a therapist, and they'll help you with it. And the way you approach this is you say to ChatGPT, or you say to yourself, hey, look, this is the situation. I said or did this thing to somebody, and I'm feeling really guilty about it, and I just can't shake these feelings loose, and it just won't leave me alone, and I don't know what to do about it, and it just bothers me all the time. And ChatGPT, these apps, these shadow work apps, a therapist is going to have to ask you some questions, right? And through your answers, it's going to help these tools figure out where this wound is that caused you to say or do the thing that you did. All right. So usually When we hurt somebody or we hurt ourselves, it comes from a wound that we have. And usually that stems from some kind of childhood situation, like maybe your parents had a certain dynamic that happened in the house and it was not a good one. And you unknowingly absorb these negative dynamics, these bad dynamics. And you just, over the years, you absorb, you watch how they deal with conflict. And maybe they don't deal with it at all, or maybe they deal with it in a way that's horrible, violent even. It affects you. Okay, you absorb that, and over time you don't even know that it's happening. You don't realize it, and you go into your adult life acting and behaving in ways that were determined by this dynamic that was happening to you as you were growing up. Okay, so if you had a negative dynamic in your household and it was never addressed, you can just bet your bottom dollar that these dynamics, these negative dynamics, are going to present themselves in your adult life, and it's going to look like problems. Okay, now how severe these problems are going to be directly dependent on your personality type. You know, do you avoid or do you welcome? Right? Like, are you able to see issues and problems and you attack it? Or do you see problems and issues and you hide, you run? So you'll see, for instance, like in life, there's some pretty basic dynamics that people take. Either they're avoidant, right? They're even labeled avoidant. And it could be like they have fearful avoidance, dismissive avoidance. And then you've got other people too who are just like, unable to stand on their own, okay? And they glam onto other people and they're very clingy. And these kinds of attributes, these kinds of energies are developed when we're young, okay? And if they've never been confronted while you're young, they are absolutely going to present themselves in your adult life, and your life's going to look a certain way. You'll be able to look behind you and say, aha, yes, of course. And things always work out this way, and not in a good way. So we have to really understand ourselves. In order to get to a place where you can really forgive yourself, you've got to understand why you're doing whatever it is that you highlight or you identify as being unforgivable. You can't just be like, well, this thing in my past, this happened and I'm just going to forget about it. I'm just not going to think about it. And you think that it's now done and out of the way, but it's not. It's hiding. And these energies actually live in your body. I mean, they take residence in your tissue, like your very tissue of your body, and they're there. And certain situations, even if you've buried them, certain situations will bring out those wounds. Okay. And it could be like, a stressful situation. It could be where you're feeling suffocated or whatever. And these feelings come up, they present themselves. And so these wounds, right, are something that can multiply, and they metastasize oftentimes without us even realizing it. And we make them habitual because we don't realize that it's a problem. Because if you're not in the habit of staring down discomfort, then you're in the business of running from discomfort. Okay, and if you're running from discomfort, you're burying things, you're avoiding things. And that avoidance is absolutely a problem that is not going to allow you to have the kind of life that you want. So we have to get to the root of the problem. We have to figure out what it is that you're doing that enables you to keep hurting people in a certain way, hurting yourself in a certain way. So a therapist or these shadow apps are going to try to get you to identify how often this dynamic is taking place in your life, to help you see patterns so that you could see, are these things happening within relationships? Are they happening in what certain dynamics are they happening? Is it happening in the workplace? Are you someone that just finds it very difficult to complete projects? And it's like, there's all kinds of ways that these childhood wounds affect us, and they affect us in all these different places. Sometimes they affect us in the workplace, sometimes they affect us in personal relationships, and sometimes they affect us with everything. It just depends how severe the situation was as you were growing up and whether or not you were addressing these problems. Now, a lot of people, take a strong interest in self-improvement, and when you are in that mindset, you're you're tackling these kinds of issues head on over time. And so it might not materialize as a problem, or maybe you're dealing with it, and so you diffuse these energies. But if you've arrived at a place in your life where you're just out of your head and you just can't get any traction, and you're depressed, you're angry, you're resentful, you're in that state because you're not engaged in diffusing these energies and counteracting them, because you're in an avoidance scheme. And we have to break that cycle of avoidance and get you to be willing to accept the fact that you've taken on some bad habits and that they're responsible for the problems that you're having in your life. Now, how do you get to this place where you're willing to accept that I have to take responsibility for this, and that it's not other people that are causing me problems, it's me that's causing me problems. And there's no shortcut. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the shadow work. You have to understand yourself. You have to go through this. Now, a lot of people don't know where to start with this, and they think, oh, I have to go to a therapist, but I don't have the money for it. And so they just like, well, forget it. I'm not even going to do it because I don't have the time or the money. But we live in this magical time now where you got ChatGPT and you've got other apps that are specifically designed to help you identify these trouble spots. And if you're watching these videos and you're having a hard time, please stop and just believe, trust that you can get out of this cycle. And you can forgive yourself. And if you think that God has to forgive you, I'm telling you that God is just waiting for you to forgive yourself. God already knows what's going on and is ready to give you your blessings, but it's a resonance thing. You won't accept the blessings when you feel like you don't deserve them. So you can't get your blessings. So you've got to be in a place where you have dismantled those negative energies so that the blessings come in. And I'm telling you that you can do that. And you have to do it. It's not... You can't go to God and just say, hey, God, please forgive me for this thing that I did. It's not going to work. I see people like that. And when I was going to church, I saw those people all the time. You can't just go, and it's not that God's not forgiving you, it's that you're not forgiving you. You have to forgive you. And in order for that to happen, you've got to do the work. God's saying, I forget. You're forgiven. It's you. You got to forgive yourself. And you will when you understand why you did it. And what you'll kind of come to realize is you didn't do it because you're a horrible person. You did it because you're wounded. And this is just so very important. Okay? Now, a lot of people, they have certain avenues that they can take to relieve themselves of this pressure, but they just won't take it. Like, they can apologize. They can talk to the people that they wronged, but they just refuse to do it. And I don't know why they do. They're scared. They're they feel so guilty that they just feel like they can't. And you're really shooting yourself in the foot. You've got to be, if you're in a position where you can actually talk to the person that you feel like you've wronged, you need to try and see what that source can do for you. Now, maybe they don't want to talk to you and they're going to tell you to go fly a kite. Okay, then you know you're on your own and you're going to have to figure this out on your own. But what if they're forgiving? What if they say, all right, well, let's talk about this and try to get down to the bottom of it. I want to help you. And all this time you've been suffering, but all you had to do was talk to this person or persons. Do you see? You have to be willing to do the hard work. You have to be willing to take accountability for whatever it is that you think you've done or have done. There's no shortcuts that you can take, except, you could go right to the source that you feel like you wronged. That would be a shortcut. Or you could take the long route. And it's just, why? But sometimes you don't have the option of talking to the person that you wronged. And so you've got to do the work yourself. You got to decide. But I'm just telling you that as long as these feelings live within you, because your nervous system, your body doesn't lie. You know it's there. The guilt is there. You can't deny it. And as long as you feel that guilt, you're blocking good things from coming into your life. So you've got to get rid of them. You have to get rid of them. God can't do it for you. Because you'll notice you see so many people who go to God for forgiveness and they still feel condemned. That's because they don't believe that what they've done is forgivable. And everybody's different, Everybody's different. They handle guilt and shame and all these things in different ways. And even though they've been told that God forgives them, they don't believe it. And as long as you believe it, your body keeps the score. It's there. It's undeniable. And as long as it's there and you feel it, you're thinking you're unworthy of blessings. And as long as you feel unworthy, you can't receive your blessings. I hope this makes sense. I know I just feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I know that this is hard for people to accept because they've got all these ideas about religion and spirituality and God and all this kind of stuff. And I'm telling you that you can do this with God, you can do it with your spirituality, and you can do it without. It's really up to you. Whatever makes it easier for you. I feel like it's easier with God, but I think it can be done without God too. And the thing is, though, is that I think as you go through this process, if you're able to do it without God, I think you're going to come to God anyway. At some point, let me tell you, if you're really trying to get through this and dissolve this and make it right, I think it's unavoidable. You're going to run into God. You're going to run into Source. You're going to run into the universe. And the universe is going to start talking to you now because you're open to it. And I would just say that if you're wrestling with a heavy problem, just even if you don't believe in God, you can just say, listen, I want to get rid of these feelings. And if you're listening, and I don't think you are, but if you are, if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. And maybe you are listening. And if you are listening, could you please just help me through this? And help me come into a state of mind where I can see something that might be true, but I'm missing it. If you can approach it that way, I think you might be surprised with the wind that you see will fill your sail. But you have to believe first that there's a way out of this. And all I can tell you is that there is. But you have to do the work. You have to have some faith. And you have to take some effort to make it happen. And it might be that you have to separate yourself from certain people. You have to stop watching a certain kind of programming because you got to calm the mind. You see, listen to the music that I'm listening to here. You know, you fill your body, fill your soul, fill your mind with pleasant energies. Help bring yourself into a state of peace. Start thinking about peaceful things as much as you can. Watch videos of babies cooing and snuggling with their moms. Watch pet videos. I mean, do whatever you got to do to to put you in this state of peace more than the other energies. That's what you got to try to do. And you'll see, the more you're able to do that throughout your day, you're going to see that the universe responds to that energy of peace, of tranquility, of acceptance, of forgiveness, of understanding. You're sending out message. You're telling the universe, you're telling God that I'm open for blessings. I hope that makes sense. But as long as you're feeling anxiety, as long as you're feeling anger, you're watching the world events, you're watching the stage of politics and everything, and you're agitated and you're angry. If these energies are present inside of you, you're blocking blessings. You're blocking them. You have to let peace come into your heart, your soul, your body, your space. And you got to tune that shit out. And if you can tune it all out, great. This process can work faster. But the more you can block all that crap, watching stupid movies, watching movies that are demeaning, that, make fun of other people or step on other persons, or just are violent. That kind of energy is not working for you in any way, shape, or form. And until you understand that, you're blocking good things from coming into your life. But the more you can accept this reality, then the more blessings that God can send your way, the universe can send your way. But you have to be a vessel of peace inside. And the more peace and understanding and love and acceptance and all those good feelings that you can hold space for, then the more the universe wants to give back to you. It will give back to you. You'll see it. You won't have to, it's not guesswork. You'll just be like, holy crap. Whoa, how did that, whoa. And you'll see. But you got to be open to it. You have to be open to it. And concept of forgiveness, I think, is a major aspect of being open for it. Because you've got to create this, if you can think of the setting the table for your blessings. Right? I mean, without dinner plates on the table, what are you going to do? Just throw the food on the table? It doesn't work. You need glasses to hold the wine, to hold the water. You've got to set the table for that blessing, that wonderful dinner, that banquet. So for the blessings that want to come in your life, you've got to set the table. And the table is up here. It's in your mind. It's in your heart. It's in your soul. It's in your concepts of right, wrong. It's in your peacefulness. That's where it all lies. All your blessings want to come to you, but you've got to be as peaceful. You have to be at rest as much as you can. That means making your wrongs right and getting to the root of whatever it is that's bothering you. If it's bothering you, you need to deal with it. If something's not bothering you, you've already dealt with it. I hope this all makes sense. And I hope that your day is peaceful. I hope that it's good. I hope that this was useful in some way, shape, or form. I love you so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye.